Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us to be excellent. My name is Josh Cadillac, and once again, I'll be in the driver's seat for today's show as we learn how to stop chasing paychecks and learn how to start building a business that we can be proud of. We do that by talking to people that have been successful in all sorts of different businesses to see how they got to be where they are today, what they've learned along their way. We want to find out if they know their shit. That being said, Danny is going to be with us. Danny Karon, thanks so much for being here. How are you today?
Pleasure. I'm great. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Danny,
Good.
why don't you tell everybody what it is that you do?
Well, I do a few things. I'm a lawyer by trade. I've been practicing consumer class action law for a little bit over 30 years,
Oof.
which is, I would say, a little too much. I've kind of pivoted into other law-related, wellness-related, consumer-related topics because those all derive from what I do, trying to help people become better at what they do, trying to help people out of jams, trying to help people avoid jams. So one thing I started doing was teaching. I thought it was really important to give my message back to law students, especially to help them become better problem solvers, help them kind of deliver their message to people who need it. So I started teaching at Columbia Law School. I was living in Cleveland at the time. The commute was a bit of a schlep every week to New York. It was fun for the first few weeks. Last few weeks, I wanted to jump off the George Washington Bridge. It was terrible, getting delayed, all that. So I needed something in the Midwest where I was at the time, like I said. So I'm now teaching at the University of Michigan Law School and the Ohio State University Moritz College of Law, and it's a consumer class action law course for second and third years.
So what got you started with consumer action law?
How? I always wanted to do work for victims, for people who needed help. My dad is a plaintiff's lawyer. He worked, he represented victims in auto cases and product liability cases when products failed, like lawnmowers, like jet skis, like all those sorts of big, complicated, complex products. And I liked that idea of going in and helping folks who don't have the aptitude and the money to help themselves. Problem with that, though, was that I didn't like the blood and guts involved in it. I just couldn't stand the look of a lot of stuff. I figured kind of like criminal defense, everybody deserves a lawyer, but let somebody else do it. So I wanted to do something a little more sanitized, a little more antiseptic on the victim's side of the V. And I fell into consumer class action work, which is really business litigation for people like us, where if Visa screws you over, if Time Warner screws you over, if the airlines screw you over, what can you do? Can you do anything? Should you have a victim's mentality and just sit on your hands? Or can you, if with a little bit of peace of mind and legal wellness and legal aptitude, know that you have a dog in the fight and make your own claim? That's how I got into consumer work.
Cool. And so now you're teaching. What else do you have going on?
Well, so I'm teaching. I also have my first book coming out.
Oh, cool.
Thank you. I started this legal wellness website. I've used that term a couple of times. I look at legal wellness as really taking control of your legal being, kind of like there's an emphasis on emotional wellness, how to be safe and sound in your mind and body. There's an emphasis on financial wellness, how to properly and suitably invest to get a 529 started for your kids or a 401k for yourself. But I observed that where it came to that third essential wellness bucket, I would submit as legal, which when it tips over, it spills into the other two because you freak out and you go broke. There's nothing there but these kind of trumped up courtroom shows that are more exploitative than helpful. They show kind of after things have fallen apart.
Sure.
So I wanted to turn the dial back a little bit and help people prevent stepping in it. Kind of like if you go to the doctor for a physical to keep from getting sick, I wanted to help people with a legal physical, what they need to know to keep from getting legally sick. That's how I got into it. That's what spawned the book.
Yeah. So what do you like best about it?
I like helping people. It just feels really good. It sounds a little trite, a little cliche maybe. A lot of lawyers are in it for the money, and there's no shame or harm in getting paid, that's for sure.
Sure.
But if I wanted to get paid, merely get paid, I could have done anything, day trade, sell something. But if you want to make a difference, that's when you become a lawyer. And I wanted to bring my message directly to consumers, not go through courts and through opposing counsel, because it's so long and ugly and treacherous and precarious and expensive. I wanted to deliver this message of legal aptitude, awareness, and ability to people who really need it in a digestible kind of DIY, do-it-yourself way. And that's what's kind of allowed me to pivot into this more approachable, lovable lawyer setting from just a traditional law firm lawyer.
Where do you think all the success came from for you?
I think it comes from working really hard, taking a lot of chances.
Simple as that sounds.
Yeah, I mean, nothing comes easy. I just finished a case. Took me 8 years. I'm not even finished with it yet. I'm papering it. We're papering the deal. Took 8 years. You got to fight and scrape and scrimp for people who you believe in and who believe in you and who you want to help because they've been wronged. And I mean, goddamn, if the big business isn't going to tell you you're wrong at every turn, you don't deserve to be in the courtroom with them. But you fight and you scrape and you claw. And when the check comes in and you see a smile on their face and you can give it to them and say, here you go, congratulations. That's the coolest feeling ever.
That would be good. Nothing is better than a fight long fought, well earned, and a victory well earned. Yeah, no, I believe that. What do you think?
I'll add to that if I may. That's really your quintessential hero's journey. I'm an author too. I'm writing a fiction novel, a legal thriller, and nobody cares from a story where the hero just goes straight up unopposed or takes a nosedive and finishes down here. Yeah. It's all about starting here and then the bottom falls out and you fight and you scrape and you scrimp and you claw your way back up and you do good in the end and you make good for folks. And that is a hero's journey. And that's something worth listening to, leaning into, and feeling good about.
Adversity, overcoming adversity is something that is compelling to the human psyche. It is a thing. What would you say in your makeup makes you good at what you do?
I think 3 things. I've observed that the 3 hallmarks or pillars for succeeding, not just in law, but in life, are you've got to be credible, got to know your stuff, got to be trustworthy. People have to know you're not going to screw them over. And you got to be likable. People have to like being around you. You got to smile.
You're kidding me. There's no way that's the list you just gave me. My 3 on my list, literally what I wrote my book on: rapport, credibility, and trust.
Well, you know why you did and I did? Because they derive from Aristotle's 3 pillars of persuasion.
Absolutely.
There you go. They've been around forever.
I give people the case because in our industry, the industry of real estate, everybody focuses on rapport building. In sales, everything is focused on rapport building, which is well and good. But I always say to people, if I was on trial for murder, do I want to have the most likable attorney defending me or the one that's most competent? Right? I mean, likability would be nice, but I'd take competence and one that's looking out for me and is good. Man, I take that. If I could have all 3, that would really be the win. But of the 3, that likability to me, it actually is probably the least important when the thing really matters. What we're talking about. If we're talking about going out and have drinks, well, then, yeah, likability is more important. But if the consequences of the thing really matter, quality
you got to have the chops. I will tell you, as it concerns likability, though, and this just happened last semester at Michigan. You might have a kid who doesn't do so great in the final, but God, you like them so much. They come up after class, they give you a compliment or 2, they smile, they participate.
Yep.
If you get that class participation kind of fudge factor, you're going to bump them up. I tell my son is a senior in college, I'm like, get to know your professors because I'm telling you, they cannot give you a bad grade if they like you.
Yep.
It's totally true.
It's a thing. Look, likability matters. It is part of, I literally, what I just finished before we did this podcast was teaching a class on negotiation. And one of the whole sections in there is emotional appeals and emotional manipulation. Things that you say that we do, like, geez, Danny, you realize the position this puts me in with my customer. That has no value other than I'm making you feel bad of what you like. It's totally emotional, but this is all part of this mix of how we negotiate and how we interact as human beings, because almost every interaction is some form of negotiation.
And, I couldn't agree more. A lot of the time we have what are called mediations in these lawsuits where you try to settle it privately with a professional neutral. And these guys go to mediation school. They have every trick nailed down. The minute you think they like you is the minute they're selling you out because they like the other guy, but they're selling him out. And it's just a whole game, whether it's game theory or some sort of who the heck knows what, way beyond my pay grade. But it's happening to you. But really
they rope you in anyway. Oh yeah, you got to be careful. Yeah.
And a good settlement, they say, is one where both sides walk away a little bit unhappy. So
miserable. Yeah. So where do you think the passion for this comes from for you, Danny?
I think I watched my dad do it, and I thought it was really commendable to do that kind of good work for good folks who need an advocate. Yeah. And there's so many people who are left behind, and that reasoning not only spawned my career doing plaintiff's work, but pivoting into this influencer brand with the book and this lovable lawyer brand, because I observed over 33 years in practice that there's this bias against access to justice where people who deserve it the most tend to get it the least. And that means folks who have real problems and issues don't even know they do. And if they do, they don't know how to resolve them. And if they do, they don't have anybody to help implement that resolution. They can't find a lawyer. They can't pay for a lawyer. They can't understand a lawyer with the legalese and all. So I wanted to make all these processes accessible to people. And I think that's just the highest calling. It derives from my advocacy background, my teaching background, my writing background, and it all wells up into this whole brand to bring the message to folks, which is why we're talking today. Hopefully people will derive something from this and realize that when you get screwed over, you don't have to sit down and take it. You actually can stand up and say something, and you do not need to be a lawyer to do it.
Understood. So in business, in life, obviously, I'm sure you've had cases that didn't go your way. How do you manage yourself when there's unmet expectations and disappointments, Danny?
Yeah, it sucks. It's the worst.
It sucks.
I've had cases crater at the end. The case I just settled, I'm working on after 8 years. The reason we settled it in the manner we did is because there's a case wending its way through kind of in this kind of subterranean aquifer beneath ours in this certain state that portends really bad things or really good things. We don't know for how my case will turn out. And
possible precedent setter.
Oh, it would be a big precedent setter, and it would really crush my case. So they knew that going into the mediation, obviously, and I knew it too. But of course, at the mediation, they say this is a case killer. I said, "Are you kidding? This is a case maker. It's going to go my way, make my case even stronger."
Yeah.
So there's stakes there, and there's fear there, and I don't know a lawyer who's learned how to manage it. Maybe you're able to live with it, but when the bottom falls out of a 7-year case, or when a jury goes the other way, or when you win and you get flipped on appeal, when the Supreme Court guts a theory of yours that you've been working on forever, as I just kind of described, that's tough stuff. This is not for the faint of heart, this business. That is why I like to say, John Grisham writes books and Hollywood produces movies about what I do, not what defense lawyers do, because there's no stakes, grit, fear, sex appeal, or anything in getting paid per hour. There's all that stuff in getting paid perhaps, and it's some scary stuff.
Oh, yeah. No, I get that. So let me ask you this. What is a tool that you would suggest to help our listeners? Folks listening to this, what's something you've picked up in your time that you feel like is good wisdom to share?
Knowing that you don't have to sit down and take it. That's really the theme of my book. It's all about legal awareness, aptitude, and accessibility. When something happens to you, the airlines bumps you. You don't get a piece of furniture that you ordered. You get hit, somebody hits you with their car. There are protocols you can trigger to preserve your rights and take advantage of the situation in a way that favors you. You do not have to sit there and take it. I look around and see so many people who figure, I have family members. My brother had something happen with a crown in his tooth, and he didn't think he could do anything about it. I said, "Are you nuts? You can do this, 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 and this." He did it. He got a new crown, and he got a refund. He actually got money back on top of his refund.
There you go. So when you look at the market today, what do you see as the opportunity in the market today? What's the thing that has you excited, that the opportunity, the thing that you're thinking about?
What I'm trying to do is move away from practicing law and fighting with lawyers and answering endless discovery requests and all this stuff, getting yelled at by judges, into this legal wellness space. And I'm trying to get keynote jobs to support the book. And I do a lot of teaching and I run a lot of programming, but I've not done any keynoting. So I'm learning how to fashion my remarks in the form of a keynote, try to get gigs, and bring this message out to the masses. Because from what I understand, you don't make money on book sales.
No.
You make money delivering a worthwhile message that people want to hear. And then maybe the book supports the message. But that's really what I'm focusing on now.
All right. There is an opportunity there. Sure.
I hope so.
What do you think is the most important thing you've learned in the process of doing everything that you've done?
I'm sorry, cut out a little bit.
Oh, what is the most important thing you've learned in the process of doing all that you've done?
Most important thing I've learned, I really think you have to listen to people. Mm-hmm. Too many lawyers. And I would submit that I'm guilty of this now because I'm excited about delivering a message. Do all the talking. Mm-hmm. I was running a program on class actions. I was chairing it for the American Bar Association for 13 years. My wife finally said to me, Danny, nobody needs to hear any more out of you. Why don't you just move on? You got other stuff. Just listen to the room and let somebody else talk and listen to them. And I did. And I couldn't be happier. That said, every year we have this program. I do a gig because I can't stay away from it. I'm doing one again this year. I wrote a play because I don't like doing panels. But it's a lot of fun. But you have to be mindful of who's sitting across from you. And I will end with that so you can ask a question.
All right, good stuff. This is this section here. I like to let people get a chance to know you a little bit better because we've talked about your business now and kind of where it came from. And so I want to ask, what would you say you're most proud of in business that you've accomplished?
I'm proud of having started my firm. Now, I was with law firms. I was with a big firm in Chicago for a number of years, about 100 lawyers, maybe 99 more than to my liking.
Mhm.
And we moved to Cleveland because we had the first of two kids, and there was no, my wife's from Cleveland. There's no family in Chicago, and nobody had kids, and it was expensive in the city. And I joined some other guys. Then, we got along okay, I thought, but we never fully clicked. So finally, I won't describe the circumstances because this is probably a G-rated program, but I finally ended up leaving, and on the spur of the moment, starting my own firm. As I sat there on the couch, that phone call didn't go as planned with my partners, let's just say. And I was a little unnerved. So the first call I made was not to my wife, it was to my dad, who I told you is the
Mhm.
lawyer.
Mhm.
So I said to him, "Hey, Dad, listen, I just said thus and such to my partners. I think I quit." He's like, "Considering what you said," I said, "I think you did. Yeah." I said, "Well, 25 years ago at the time, I didn't have the good sense to go in with you. Would you maybe like to go in together now?" Yeah, I needed a little bit of,
Mhm.
footing. He said, "If you want to do it, let's do it." So if you look at my Karon LLC website, the law firm website, you'll see my dad on it actually.
Nice.
Afterward, I felt a little better. I hung up and called my wife. I said, "Hey, Mimi, that's her name. I just quit my firm and things are going to change." And I waited for a response. And what felt like an interminable silence, which of course wasn't, I remember precisely what she said, which was simply, "What took you so long?"
Yeah.
So that was a cool thing. And I've been terrified every day ever since, but I've never regretted it.
Beautiful. Similar question, but a little bit more personal. What are you most proud of in life that you've accomplished?
I mean, it sounds cliche. It does, but I'm proud. Now I'm going to get all melancholy. I'm proudest of my kids
Mhm.
because, and I miss them all the time. One is in Brooklyn. The other is the one in college in DC. We're in Florida now. We never see each other. Well, we see each other as much as you can. We try to max it out. So, for instance, just last week, we were going to Cleveland for something because we lived there for 26 years. We go back every once in a while. And went for the home opener of the Guardians game, actually, in 30 degrees. So, welcome to Cleveland in
Yeah.
April. So we go before we left though, it was on a Tuesday. We're like, let's go to DC. We'll see Morgan, our son. Jillian will take the train down. And we had dinner. It was my birthday last week. So
Mhm.
we'll make it a birthday dinner. They can't say no. And it was like super nice. We hung out. It was like a couple hours. And it was awesome and cool. And yeah, that's just like everything.
Love it, man. You got to do a family cruise. You can get them to come down for a cruise, man. That's the you're in the cruise capital
Oh
of the
my
universe.
God. Right. Seriously. Oh my God. Yeah. I'll have him watch this and maybe you'll talk him into it.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely, man.
They're,
It's
they're so busy, they're so busy with their crap. Give me a
you
break.
take one of the weekend cruises. Actually, they're bringing one of the biggest cruise ships in the world to do the weekend
Right.
cruise out of Miami now. The Wonder
They
of the
have the, I
Seas.
know. Have you taken one?
Oh, the weekend cruises, yeah, all the time. But they always used to
Are,
do it with the smallest, oldest boats. Wonder of the
oh,
Seas is coming to do it now out of Miami. It's one of the biggest cruise ships in the world,
oh my
one of their
God.
best boats. So yeah, no, those things the large ships, the big ships
And,
are well worth
and
doing.
don't we get a deal as Florida residents?
I don't know that you got to deal with the cruise ships. If you have
If I find,
American Express, call American Express, book it through
I'll do that.
American.
If I find it, I'll tell you. Okay.
All right, you let me know. Um, Besides not going to a Guardians game in 30-degree weather, what one piece of advice would you give our listeners who are paying attention here?
Boy, that's an open one. What one word of advice concerning, I will add to that concerning succeeding at your job, since that's the theme of the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. I I'll go that direction. Now, not everybody has to grow the nut. I mean, a lot of people, do the work. They don't have to, get the work. But I've always thought that if there's four different types of folks, three different types of folks working in my business, sometimes a fourth. There's the grinder, the finder, the banker, and sometimes the politician. What I mean by that
Yep.
is the grinder does the work, shows up at the desk, does all the stuff that you're like, ugh, I don't want to do this. The finder gets the business. No work can, no job, no business can run without business, whether it's credit card customers or ISP customers or um, people buying prescription drugs at CVS or whatever, or clients like in law, or patients like in medicine. So there's
Sure.
the finder. There's the banker. Somebody's got to pay for it because younger folks at businesses just take for granted that things are going to pay for themselves. I had somebody work for me once who had no mind for the fact that I had to pour all this money into this business. I just got what's called an assessment letter in a case because defendants don't pay their own defense. Defendants pay for their own defense because they're big companies. Plaintiffs, victims don't pay for their own prosecution. The lawyers front the funds. They guarantee the funds. We can do that ethically.
Mm.
And I just got an assessment letter. I could hold it up and show you. $150,000. I mean, your
Mm.
heart sinks, but I knew it was coming. That sucks. I don't care how flush with cash you are. It sucks getting that letter.
Yeah.
So somebody's got to provide the funds for the business. And then fourth, sometimes there's a politician. Somebody's got to grease the skids. You know what I mean? Somebody's got to say something to the right person the right way, get you some business, get you an in, get you some business, do whatever.
Yep.
So if you can wear all hats, God bless you. I have to wear all hats in my business. But if you had to pick one, is the most important. It's always, 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 and will always be the finder. You can have the smartest guy in the world typing up paperwork, but if you got nothing to type up, forget it. Does you no good. It's like putting on Hamilton to an empty theater. Forget it. You don't want an empty house. You want a full house. And that's the work of the finder. Be the guy who can get the business.
Love it. All right. If you had to narrow it down, what one book besides your book, what's the title of your book again?
Your Lovable Lawyer's Guide to Legal Wellness, How to Fight Back Against a World That's Out to Cheat You.
Okay. But besides your book, what one book would you recommend?
You know what? I actually have it right here. This was not set up, by the way, guys. I do a lot of writing. And I think it's essential to not just my practice, but to all of life. You're writing emails, you're writing complaint letters, you're writing proposals, you're trying to convince and persuade people to do what you want. And that channels through being the best writer you can be. I think the best book on writing, and I teach writing too, by the way, is Stephen King's On Writing. It's just a masterclass in the art of the craft and how to do it best and to direct yourself and efforts into being the best writer you can be. And it's a good, fun read because it's Stephen King. So it's half fun, half technical, and all worthwhile. I mean, I got it much loved with all the tabs. So I think this is a really cool book.
Favorite movie of all time?
I'm a sucker for Star Wars.
Okay.
Like whenever it shows up, I'll just end up watching it. It's pretty basic, but I think it's also a function of my son being like a super Star Wars fan. So we get to dig it together and get into the Star Wars universe. And it's so much more detailed and deeper than I ever gave it credit for with all these like spin-offs and stuff. He blows me away, but I try to keep up.
All right. Famous person in history you'd want to meet if you could?
I'm really into music. I kind of think John Lennon would be pretty cool to meet.
All right.
Just for all sorts of reasons. Yeah. Now you say in history, that doesn't presuppose they're dead either. So maybe we can throw somebody living into that mix, and maybe Paul McCartney too.
All right.
I've seen him from afar, like 3 times, but that kind of counts.
All right. Similar question, but a little bit more personal. What person from your past would you want to sit down with and have lunch with today if you could?
From my past?
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm not going to pass on this. I'm going to person from my past. Again, they can be dead. Well, let's see. If they're alive and have not had lunch with them, they qualify. Yeah. Who might it be?
Alive or dead? Just somebody from your past.
Alive or dead? I don't know. Boy, can we want to come back? I don't want to punt it. That's bad. That's bad podcasting. Let me think. From my personal past. Oh, I know. Well, God, this is an easier one than I expected. I'd say my grandparents for sure. Okay. No, I'll give you a fresher one because they've been gone so long. My uncle passed away like 10 years ago suddenly, and it's super sad still. So I'd like to be able to make up for that. Yeah.
All right, Danny, if you could go back and give a younger version of you one piece of advice, what would you tell younger Danny right now if you could?
That's an easy one. Don't have such a big mouth.
Okay.
Maybe realize that when you're doing something, when you're kissing your boss's ass, you're not doing it for him, you're doing it for yourself. Like advice my wife gave me when I said, I'm too good to kiss so-and-so's ass because he wants me to is why I'm not going to do it. She's like, are you nuts? You do it for you, not for them. Good Lord. I didn't put 2 and 2 together until a few jobs in, let's say.
Gotcha. All right, that makes sense. If you had to pick who, if you had to be stuck in a foxhole taking fire, who would you pick to have in the foxhole with you? Who's got your back in the foxhole?
I can think of a couple buddies from work um, who would do anything for me. I can think of another buddy. I'm not gonna. I won't name stuff, folks. Another friend from high school who's always been there.
Okay.
Um, I think the common denominator is the people you have history with. You know, where you started out with them, you went through stuff and through all the crap together,
Yep.
and it's kind of like the more practical version of that question is like who would you ask to drive you to the airport, or who would help you move? It's a pretty short list, right? So if you got a couple folks you can name, you're in pretty good shape, I think.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. When people have to name movie characters and stuff like that because they don't have people like that in their life, I always feel a little bit bad.
Okay.
What do you do to unwind, Danny?
I do a lot of yoga. I'd
Okay.
like to do some today, but my wife made plans for dinner. And this morning I
Stupid
couldn't work
dinner.
out because I had to go to the BMV to change the plates for my son's
Ugh,
car.
everybody's favorite location.
Pardon?
I said everybody's favorite location. What do you want to do today? I want to go to get disrespected and ignored at the DMV. That's my
Yep.
favorite.
Oh my! Oh, third trip, by the way. We had to change plate. Get this. My mom's not driving anymore. So rather than selling the car, my dad's like, why doesn't Morgan take it? Who's the senior at American University in DC? But my parents live in Minnesota, so it's titled in Minnesota. So we ship the car to Morgan. He sends the title to me. It's a Minnesota title for tendered by somebody in Florida for a car that's in DC.
Yeah.
So it has like law school exam question written all over it. It took me 3 trips to the DMV to get the thing ironed out. And I just brought the plates downstairs. I just got the Florida plates.
There you go. There's the win.
Big win.
Yeah. So Danny, what's next for you? What's the next project? I mean, I think we already know. I mean, is there something besides the book and the keynoting that you have going on, or is
I do. My
okay.
biggest passion project for like 10 years has been this legal thriller I'm working on.
Nice.
And I'm done. I'm like 95,000 words into it. I've taken several fiction writing classes, and I've reformed my writing technique to channel my thoughts through fiction writing techniques rather than legal writing techniques, which of course makes my prose more readable as compared to other lawyers' worthless, thoughtless drivel. And I was pushing through that when the offer for the Lovable Lawyer, the nonfiction book, came through. So I had to put the fiction book on hold and crank up the nonfiction effort, finish it. I just got the edits back like 3 days ago. I've got to go through them. It's like 270 pages. I got to go through all the edits and accept them or reject them, which like sucks, but it's, editing is where it's at in writing.
I like to
So I
hover
will
the
knock
mouse
that out.
when I do
Pardon?
when I get that when they send me the edits back. I hover the mouse over the accept button, and I tell myself I have to push it unless it's just a deal killer.
Me too. I mean, they say writers need to learn to kill their darlings, right? We have to have super, thick skin and be okay with people telling us what we did is wrong because it's for the greater good. I will accept like 95% of the changes. I totally agree with
Yeah, me too. I know that I don't know it as well as these folks do. And like when I did Close for Life, I had to do the recording for the audiobook. And so I had to read it back aloud. And reading it back aloud for the audiobook,
you. Yeah.
I was surprised at how well it, like I thought it was a good, when I wrote it, it was, a passion project. It was, everything that I thought and everything, right? But when I read it back, it read so nicely. Like I didn't feel like there were lulls or anything like that. It did its job, and it was, uh,
I'm looking
well
forward to a good
formulated.
read. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I don't want is, I mean, I'm the one who like gets kind of modestly persnickety about stuff. Like if I see something that's a certain way usage wise or grammatically, in the comments, I'll attach a link to the explanation because for instance, I mean, all of my writing actually derives from the Chicago Manual. My whole writing library is right over here, by the way. So you got to have super writing chops to be the best lawyer you can be. And when I teach business development, it's always about being the best writer. I just wrote an essay on, here it is actually. I happen to have everything here. I just wrote an essay on why you need to be the best writer and how to do it. So it's important, but not to suggest that I'm above actual professional editors who do this for a living, and I do it for kind of a living.
Yeah, tell me how I suck and let me fix it. Yeah,
I'm
makes
fine
sense.
with that.
Last question. Where can people find you, Danny?
They can find me a couple of places. The the better place is at www.yourlovablelawyer.com, where I've
Okay.
posted a bunch of videos and content on everyday topics that could affect you. What to do? This won't affect us though. What to do? When somebody slips in your driveway in the snow. What to do if you're in an auto accident? How to handle traffic court? What what to do to keep out of from getting in trouble online, like defaming somebody, or worse yet, your kids defaming somebody, and they're on your policy and you're screwed. Like Amber Heard with the Johnny Depp thing could have used a little dose of legal wellness because she didn't know what not to say to the Washington Post. Could have avoided this whole headache. Why you need a will and a trust. All that content and more is on the website and in the book in super accessible fashion, so we can all make sense of it and use it. So that's one place. The other place is just the law firm website. If you need a lawyer for a class action, it's at KaronLLC.com. And you never know. Maybe you got a case. We could talk about it.
Sounds good. Well, Danny, thank you so much for coming on and for your time and for everything that you shared with us. I really appreciate it, bud.
I can't thank you enough. What a pleasure and a privilege. And you've got such a great podcast and you send such a great, necessary, meaningful message to folks. I'm just thrilled to have been part of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank our listeners for hanging out with us. You're the ones that make this show happen. As I do every time, I remind you, there's never a good excuse not to know your shit. Till next time, guys.